SafeNest has been in Las Vegas since domestic violence was illegal. So we were established in 1977, so 43 years. Actually, in March, it was 43 years exactly.
Wow.
And we only serve Clark County, Nevada. So
Can
we're
I
not part of a national network.
can I stop you for a minute? Did you say that it was legal to have domestic violence before 1977?
Yes, yeah, yes. So
Oh my goodness, I never knew that.
yeah, so the history is murky, but 1977 is when there actually started to be funding for domestic violence. So what we understand from old police reports and records is as long as the bruise wasn't bigger than the size of his hand, we kind of let it go. Otherwise, it was just booked under a regular battery, and then domestic violence became a part of the penal code in 1977, and the work of domestic violence agencies began to get funded.
Yeah, the first community service work I ever did in Nevada was for the Committee to Aid Abused Women in Reno.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, and so I was, having come from the East Coast, it was a pretty weird place, and I was very young, so it was all kind of alien to me to begin with, but
Yeah.
it was pretty interesting being here at that point in time and realizing, yeah, we'll just look the other way. We'll just look the other way. And so how long have you been with SafeNest?
3 years. So 3 years in March. I also have a March anniversary.
So given you have 3 years history in this particular, what is today like? What's different about the way you need to lead, what you have to do? What's it like?
Yeah. So, as a leader, there are, of course, multiple layers to what's different today, right? So for our clients, the service level is different in that it's scalable and expandable and digital. In some places, we're able to do things digitally that we couldn't do digitally before. So that the client dynamic has changed. Now, of course, I have a staff of 93, so I'm not at that front end of the work doing that, but it's me that needs to make sure that all the resources are there to make sure that that's working, and that our clients are getting a great experience. And then the second thing that is sort of different today is I take it as a personal responsibility to make sure, especially in this field, that my staff are taking care of themselves. Now doing that with a layer of a pandemic on top of it, and making sure that people feel engaged with what's going on, what's the updated language for the agency around COVID, any systems changes that we're making, everybody's looped into that. And most importantly, making sure that my direct reports are taken care of, that they're taking care of their folks, and those folks are taking care of their folks, and that throughout the agency, we are making sure that we are taking care of, because we have to do this work on the front line. And so we've always had an employee assistance program, and we have counselors that come in quite often and do groups with staff to debrief. I mean, the world we work in is not an easy one, but now I've added additional layers to that, which is, hey, is your husband or spouse still working? What does the family finances look like? Do you need to change your schedule? What's going on with you? And making sure that we're really caring about people, because at the end of the day, I need my people to care about the people we serve. And so I want to make sure that that's the kind of agency I lead all the time. But now it's just making sure that we're adding those layers, and we're checking in with people. And when we see that people are stressed or they look tired, it's like, hey, how's it going? Let's chat. And we've been giving people a little bit of time off here and there as we can, to have a little administrative break so that folks can recharge. But what's been the most important, I think, the piece of that that's resonated with staff the most is letting people choose their comfort level. So I have advocates at the district attorney's office as well as at family court who cannot control who's coming into their environments every single day. Even shelter, to some extent, we have control. We're not a homeless shelter, so our client turnover is not that rampant. So we have some mechanisms And then my folks that go out on the metro calls, they can't control what household they're going
Right.
to.
Right.
So throughout all those programs, I had very clear conversations with folks is that I applaud whatever you choose. So some of my staff have chosen to work from home and support the staff that are on the front lines. And some of my staff have chosen to stay out on the front lines and want to do that work. And they have all the masks and things
Protection.
that we can do. But that has been, I think that's the part that's resonated the most with staff is like, okay, I can kind of pick my comfort level. SafeNest isn't saying you have to do this or you have to do that, but rather what's comfortable for me. And what's interesting about that is most of my staff who chose initially to stay home because maybe they had somebody in their house that was immune compromised has now chosen to return, and they've changed their living environment. So maybe now they're staying at an aunt's house through the pandemic. And you know, they are an amazing group of people, so brave and out there doing it every day. And we applaud that. And we thank people for that. And I also thank people who stay home because they're sick. We've had a couple, we haven't had any COVID positives, but we've had people that have, you know, certainly had some illness, and we thank them and publicly thank them for doing that. So it's
you know, I've got to say, and I bet Christy will agree with me, to my recollection with most of my client base and my own work and businesses being in the more corporate, privately owned, having a CEO who realizes that you must take care of your employees, that even though you had plans in place, you went back. I know that personally, my daughter is the executive director of a nonprofit. And when she first went into the work, I said, the only thing you have to do is never allow your employees to be economically disadvantaged because they work for an agency. They have to be able to live to bring others up. And it sounds as though your plan and the way you have led in this follows that philosophy. And I sure wish we could talk companies. I don't know about you, Christy, but don't you wish you could talk a few companies into that philosophy?
Absolutely.